Perfect. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. I want to take you back to February 18th, 2003. Kind of just a normal winter day. It's blue sky. It's cold. I'm telecommunications tech at this time. And I'm at a customer site doing the last job of my day, about to walk into the phone room when all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I get this like intense pain in my chest. It's like I get this wave of nausea. It's like, oh my God, I have to fall down to the floor. I breathe, and then, you know, what seems like forever, but probably maybe 5 minutes, then the feeling passes. So I'm left feeling a little bit confused and wondering what's going on. So I quickly, go into the telephone room, I finish my job, I do my thing, and I drive home. And I just feel a little unsettled. Pull into my garage, and as I'm pulling into my garage, I get out of my truck, and I hear the phone ring. Open up the door, run into the house. Phone's ringing, and before I pick up the phone, I know something's wrong. I answer the phone, and it's my aunt. My dad, my father, had passed away half an hour earlier of a massive heart attack. At that exact moment when I felt that pain and nausea in my chest. My father was a mentor, was a coach. He, at 17, when I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, he's like, "You're coming to work for me." He brought me from this shy, invisible teenager to somebody that would deal with people, that would get the confidence to be able to, talk to my future wife, to be able to talk to clients, to grow, to challenge myself, to go to telecommunications, to work side by side for him for 10 years. My wife and I bought the company from him. He was like my everything and such a valuable person in my life. And so when he passed away, suddenly like that, it rocked my world. And it took me a long time to recover. And I understood at that, I didn't understand the importance of it, but that's when I first recognized that real human connection can change your life. I had this bond that my dad that transcended time and space, that passed no distance, and I can't explain it, but I know that moment when I felt that pain and that nausea in my chest, that something was wrong, and that was, at least I tell myself, the moment that my dad passed. And so the next 20-ish years, I put myself back together. And so if you're a business person that wants to connect better with yourself, that wants to connect better with your team, if you're ever been depressed or anxious or not sure how to connect with yourself or others, if you're a mother, a father, child of a mother or father, then you're in the right place. What I'm going to cover today is I'm going to cover a little bit more how I put myself, back together, why this is important for me. Then I'm going to, go over why this could be important to you with some tools for your tool belt, things that you can use practical to maybe better connect with yourself, better connect with others. And then the third thing we're going to go over today is we're going to go over a little exercise. This is going to be, crowd participation exercise that will help you connect better with yourself, and it'll help you feel connected with with everybody else in this room. Are we ready? Let's dive in. Okay, so the first thing I said is, why is this important to me? So for the next, 20 years, I live my life. I have, beautiful wife, family, but I couldn't talk about my dad. Every time I would talk about my dad, I'd get emotional and couldn't celebrate his memory. So we go to February 19th, 2020, 2022. I always get my dates a little bit mixed up. So February 19th, 2022, 19 years after my dad's death, I'm at an EO leadership conference. First time I've ever attended any EO external event outside of Edmonton. I was told always lean in, just say yes. EO, that's how you learn and you grow. You just say yes. So I'm at this leadership conference. I'm outside of this hotel room, and I open up a door and it says Wim Hof breathing. So I open up the door, I look inside, and there's all these mats on the floor. There's a big TV like this. There's two TVs side by side, and we got this face of this guy on it. And then he's like, "Yeah, come on in, lay down on the floor." So there's 40 or 50 EO members. We lay down on the floor. There's a blanket if you get cold. And he's like, "Okay, what we're doing here is for the next hour, we're going to do continuous breath work." And I'm like, "Okay." I told him this is a little weird, never done this. And he's like, "You might feel some weird things. You might feel some emotion come over you. You might feel, upset. You might cry. You might get this weird thing called lobster claws, where all of a sudden your hands tighten up like claws and you can't release them. It's okay. Just go with it. Just breathe." So, okay, here we go. Of course, I get the lobster claws. I get this tightening, and my mouth is dry, and I'm like so thirsty, and I'm like, "Oh my God, how can I do this?" But I'm like, they said, just stick with it. It's okay. You'll be okay. So I continue to breathe. And then all of a sudden I start getting super emotional. Tears start flowing uncontrollably. And I hear this voice in my head. And I will never forget this moment. This voice in my head was like, "You are worthy. You are enough. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone." And lastly, probably the words that had the most impact to me: "I'm proud of you." Unbelievable. It was like, I've never done drugs in my life, but I imagine that must be what it's like. It was incredible. And there's just this wave of euphoric. It was like a piece of myself had been healed. And it was, such an amazing and incredible experience. And that led me to go, oh my gosh, what? This connection to myself, just by nature of that whole experience, I was able to start talking a little bit more about my dad and the influence he had on me and the mentorship that he did. But it helped me connect to other people better. It helped me to connect to my wife a little bit better, my son a little bit better. So then my journey continued. And a lot of it sounds like, I'm a big EO person, because a lot of these events were through the Entrepreneurs Organization. So I went to the Regional Leadership Academy. This had such an amazing experience on me. I'm like, what else can I do? Where else can I go? And so I applied. I got into the Regional Leadership Academy. And they break you down and they build you back up again. And we did this: get up at 3 a.m. You can't talk. You climb to the top of a mountain. You're silent with a candle, and it's like super slippery, and it's raining, and there's wild turkeys coming, gobble, gobble, gobble in the background. And you're just in your head with your thoughts. And some people are really struggling and having trouble getting out there, and other people are just going up no problem. You had to journal your experience at the top, and it was like a really foggy day. We're on the top of this little mountain, and you can't see the field. And then they had they broke us up into groups, and one group was an art station, building a building, and a cooking station. So I'm going to tell you about the story about the art station. So I get to this art station. It's a little bit, I think we're about 5 o'clock in the morning now, sun's coming up. And we brought up with us brown clay and white clay. And it could signify whatever you wanted, the different colors: light, dark, negative, positive, whatever you wanted. You had like half an hour at every station. So they're like, okay, just go out in the forest, pick things, and just make some sort of sculpture. I am not an artist. If you see any of me draw, you'd go, "Man, is this a 2-year-old? Who's doing this art," right? So I just go, and it was really weird. I go and I pick up this big piece of bark, and then I pick up some tree leaves, some leaves, bit of fungus. And, it took me about 5 minutes. I sit down, I take the dark clay and I form it into gingerbread man kind of a body. The white clay, I make a mountain, and then I make a little river beside the body. And then from the white clay, I make two figures, kind of like of my wife and I holding a baby, and then greenery coming out and the fungus on the body that's on the birch bark. And for me, it symbolized from death comes life. So my dad, he taught me all these amazing things. I have my wife, I have my son. It's my job to pass on his message. The mountain, our last name is Schonberger. German means beautiful mountain dweller. So it was like the river was like coming home, and from that, his generation birthed the life of my generation. And then I left it sitting overlooking the whole valley below. And it was just all the fog was gone. It was a clear day. Again, it was just another lifting, another healing event. And so the other most impactful thing from that Regional Leadership Academy is they started teaching mindfulness. And there was Warren Rustad, amazing business leader. And he has this thing called 10-10-10, where every day you do 10 minutes of meditation, 10 minutes of gratitude reading, and 10 minutes of journaling. And so I started doing that. And for me, realizing that connection to myself, that part that I was missing that was shut away, by unlocking that, I better connected into myself. And the things that I learned through my journaling and my meditation practice, there's so many benefits that it inspired me to. That was one of the reasons why I went to the Speakers Academy and why I'm talking in front of you today. I'm not a natural public speaker. I'm not somebody that loves to get in front of crowds. But this connection to myself and how it's been like rocket fuel for my connection to others and stimulating my culture and my family and business connections. So you might be wondering, okay, that's great for you. How does this relate to me, meaning all of you, right? So I'm going to go into that a little bit more. And to start that out, we all have, this was one of my key learnings at the Global Speakers Academy. What holds us back from getting in front of an audience and bearing our souls or telling our stories to people, being vulnerable, or actually just talking in front of people? Well, it's from our hunter-gatherer days, right? From when we were tribes people, that we're always on guard and we have our instincts for protection mechanisms, right? If we go too far from the tribe, we might get eaten by a lion. There could be a tiger underneath this table that's going to chew on your leg. So we still have those instincts, but we live in a very safe society. And what they did for me is they help put it into context and they help label it. So they call, when you're afraid, call that the protector. My protector's name is Bob. So when I don't want it, when I'm afraid about doing something, when I'm anxious, when I'm nervous about getting in front of a crowd, it's Bob talking, because I'm worried about, are people going to judge me? Are they going to look at me funny? What if I say the wrong thing? What if I forget the story I was going to say? Really, none of you really care. So why do I care so much about that? And at the worst thing, even if I bomb, I can go home, I can have pad thai. Who does not love pad thai? We all love pad thai, right? So that's Bob. So they say engage your projector. So your projector is that persona that can have that pad thai, that it's okay to screw up, that's not going to worry about the judgment. My projector's name is Richard. So anytime I come up and I do like a public speaking or something of what I'm doing right now, Richard's with me, and I just give Bob a flick and tell Bob that he can wait in the truck. I put some candy in the back seat so he can, have a snack. But it's just that subtle shift to go, we're all so hard on ourselves. We're all, our inner voice is so critical. So how do we change the kindness to ourselves? How do we, and one of those ways is to, get rid of our protector and engage our projector. Meditation and gratitude practice, there's a lot of times when we talk about that inner voice, right? If we had a loudspeaker on what we tell ourselves every day and we broadcast, it came out of our ears was the speaker, whatever we think is broadcast out. How many of you would want that, what you say to yourselves, be broadcast? Anybody would love that? It would be a positive. Put a, show hands. Yeah, no. No, it's not. So why is that? And so having a gratitude practice and focusing on what we love about ourselves and a little bit of meditation and mindfulness can do that. One little technique, I told you I'd give you some tools, is a word called RAIN. I was on one of the meditations that I listened to. So it's recognize when you're feeling anxious, when you're feeling mad at yourself, when you do anything, you recognize it. You acknowledge it for what it is, where it's coming from. You investigate and go, where is this coming from? Right? Why am I feeling this way? Why am I being hard on myself? Right? And then you nurture it. It's okay. You'll be all right. You didn't intend to do whatever happened. You're not, be kind to yourself. Love yourself. Right? The act of doing a gratitude practice. So writing down one or two things that you love that happened during the day. It could be I walked outside and the sky was beautiful. Beautiful blue sky. I noticed this cloud that was just shape of a monkey. I don't know what made me think of a monkey, but or the way the breeze felt in my hair. Since I've been doing this, I drive to work every morning. I go up this hill, and some of the sunrises that I notice in the morning are just spectacular. That it just makes my heart sing. That I never ever noticed before because I was always in such a rush to get from point A to point B. So I was continually thinking. So slowing down just by a simple 10 minutes a day, I slow down my brain and I notice so much more. I notice more with people. I know that I'm more present with myself. And by being more present with myself, I'm more present with others. So it's transformed my life. So a simple gratitude practice, journaling practice, 1 minute a day, 5 minutes a day. It doesn't have to be long. And then focus on positive reading. What we put into our brains and what we absorb is how we act, how we think affects what we say, affects our body language, it affects everything. So how, ultimately we control our own world. So what do we want to think? What do we want to digest? What do we want to say? But you might be thinking, okay, so that's cool. You talked about, giving it an exercise, and this is the crowd participation moment for all of you that we're going to do an exercise together. So is everybody game? We're all good for it? Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're just going to reset our mindset. So we're going to do 3 deep breaths. And so what that is we're just going to breathe in through our nose, belly breathe. If anybody's done yoga, so you just hold your hand in your belly and just in through your nose. And we're going to do a really big sigh. It's like really big. You're just letting out that air. So it's just like, make it loud so everybody can hear. There's, engage your projector here. One more time. So thank you all for doing that. It's great. That is something, if ever you're feeling stress and anxiety, that's a tool for that tool belt that you can just tuck right in there that'll calm you right down. It's a way of recentering yourself. So now that we've got and we're refocused on the moment, what I want you to do is put your hand on your heart, okay? And I want you to close your eyes. So we're all going to close our eyes here. And I want you to think about somebody in your life that is like my dad, a mentor, a coach, somebody that's inspired you, somebody that's helped shape you to who you are, somebody that helps, get you to this point in your life. I want you to hold on to, picture them in your mind and give them a hug, whatever. Just hold on to that thought for a moment. I want you to open your eyes, bring that person with you back to this room, right? So as if they're sitting beside you, you're holding their hand. Keep your hand in your heart. Now I want you to repeat after me. I love you, and say your own name. I love you, Mike. So aloud, you got all crowd participation here. All together now, 1, 2, 3. I love you, Mike. The exercise of putting our hand on our heart. So now just look at each other, right? And just look around the room and connection and love. Whatever you think about it, the reason why I had you do this exercise is when I was at that Global Speakers Academy in Panama, one of the speakers, their talk was how the simple act of saying, I love you, and their name multiple times through the day transformed their life. She was a 49-year-old, it's Claudia. She's from China, Swiss woman, amazing woman. And she woke up in her late 40s. She woke up every morning crying. And she would go to work every day, simple black suit, same suit every single day, and had no idea. She had no idea, why the heck am I waking up crying? And she just, through a series of work that she did, she started the exercise of I love you, Claudia, and loving herself. And all of a sudden things changed. Her life changed. She started to wear colorful clothing. She had more than one outfit in her closet. She had 15 of the same thing before. Now she has, she wears bright blues and pinks and purples, and she has a heart, and she's just this really cool sunglasses, and she's got this super amazing dynamic personality. And she said it transformed her relationship with her employees. It transformed her business. It transformed how she thought of herself. And so now her talk, her signature talk, like my talk here, is about how loving yourself first can transform your life. And she gives tools and tricks and what she's used to help transform her. And I've taken it, with her permission, taken a little piece of it and added it to my toolbox to share with all of you. And that simple act, and it's, why is it so hard to do, to be kind to ourselves, of saying, I love you in our name? Why is that so weird? Why do we have trouble loving ourselves? And so my wife and myself and my son, every morning when I wake up, that's the first thing I do. I give myself a high five, and I'm like, hey, I love you, Mike. And it puts a smile on my face. It's no longer weird, right? So it can transform your life. So just hold on to that moment and be kind to yourself. So I told you that I was going to, tell you a bit about my story and what got me, why I'm doing this talk, and my path to that. And that was through that Wim Hof exercise. It was through the art exercise and the connection of understanding and really healing from my father's death, and be able to tell his story and tell his mentorship, and how all of the things that he taught me, I can now share with the world. I love to mentor, I love to coach, and now I share his stories freely, and I can tell the story without getting emotional, and I can control the emotional. The strings, I pull the strings now instead of the strings pulling me. Then I told you about how flicking off your protector, engaging your projector, naming it, not worrying about what other people think, being kind to yourself, further connection to yourself, and a couple of tools and tips and tricks to do that. And then the exercise of connecting all you together. So I'm hoping you feel, more connected than you did before my talk. So, but to leave you with today, I'm going to tell you one final story. So one of the other Global Speaker Academy attendees, his talk was all about Sarah. He was doing a yoga class, and he was in it for like 6 months. And every day Sarah was at this yoga class with him. He didn't know very much about Sarah. She would show up for class. She was very kind, considerate. They would have a chat. Then all of a sudden one day, Sarah wasn't there. It's like, where's Sarah? She committed suicide last night. So his talk is about, as a society, we're all so focused on ourselves that we forget to connect in with the people we love, or just random strangers. When was the last time you went to a Tim Hortons and you're in a lineup and you just said hi to a stranger in line with you? If you're at a mall, we're all on our devices, we're all disconnected from each other. A simple act, random act of kindness, making somebody go from invisible to visible, can maybe make a difference of a Sarah that shows up for the next yoga class, or it makes a different choice and ends her life. We have more impact. We have the ability. It starts with us. Real human connection. whether it be an energetic link, whether we're thinking about somebody and they call us randomly, or whether we have a connection with a random stranger by just saying hi and smiling, saying you have beautiful glasses, saying, that's a cool outfit. Whatever it may be, just the act of saying hello might be the difference between life and death for them, and helps you get connection, because human beings are starving for connection. So what are you going to do to create more real human connection in your life? So I leave you with that thought, and thank you for your time today. That's it. So we're not done. We now have workshop bit that we're going to do. Does anybody need to take a quick break?